Hello everyone, welcome back to the Montana Farm Bureau Field Notes podcast. My name is Haley Droogsma, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the communications lead here at the Montana Farm Bureau Federation. Today I'm coming to you with the first segment of Under the Dome. Under the Dome is a special edition of this podcast where I get the chance to discuss with professionals and Farm Bureau members how legislation is impacting agriculture. In today's episode, I had the privilege of sitting down with Jodie and Andy Drange of Drange Apiary, along with two of their South African H-2A workers, David and Terrance. We had a great conversation about House Agriculture Committee Chairman G.T. Thompson's new bipartisan bill, the Securing Agriculture's Workforce Act, which contains some promising reforms for the H-2A program. Always reach out to me at haleyd@mfbf.org. That's HALEYD@mfbf.org with anything you'd like to see on this podcast. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Hello everyone, I'm here today with the Drange family and their awesome H-2A South African workers today, and I'm super excited to have them on. I will let Jodie go ahead and introduce their operation and their connection to H-2A and Farm Bureau.
Hi, my name is Jodie Drange, and we have Drange Apiary in Laurel, Montana. We run around 6,000 colonies of bees. We're commercial and migratory, which means we take our bees to California to pollinate almonds, and then we come back to Montana to make a honey crop. We run about between anywhere from 8 to 11 employees at any time, and this year 6 of them are actually from South Africa. We've been in business for 16 years as commercial beekeepers, but my husband, Andy, has had bees since 1980.
And then I will pass it along to David and Terrance, her awesome employed South Africans here with me today, to talk a little bit about their backgrounds, where they're from, and how they ended up here with the Dranges.
Hi, I'm David Botha. I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I'm around about 50. Okay, I'm over 50. But I've been working for Andy and Jodie Drange for the last 3 years and enjoying it here, enjoying the American culture and getting to see new places. Always interesting.
Hi, I'm Terrance Williams, also from Cape Town, South Africa. It's my second year, and it's been nice being on the side over here, seeing different cultures, different places, and experiencing different things. And it's been wonderful being on the side.
Awesome. So I'll start out with Jodie. If you want to talk a little bit about why you decided to start hiring through the H-2A program, and then what that process looks like as far as finding labor on your end, if you want to touch on that a little bit.
So we ended up out of necessity joining the H-2A program 3 years ago. We couldn't find help. I mean, beekeeping is not the job that everybody goes out looking for. You get stung, it's hot, it's sticky. So we had to figure out where to get some help. And most of the commercial beekeepers actually in Montana already use the H-2A program. So we had known through the grapevine how it worked a little bit. And so we started and we're like, we got to have employees, especially when we're both in California and here in Montana. And so that's how we got started with it. We have to go through a whole system through Homeland Security and the H-2A program and fill out all this paperwork, that why we want them, exactly what jobs they're going to actually be doing here. And then they have recruiters that will work with us to find us people. And then they send us applications and then we can go through them and pick. Now, let's see, I think maybe only one that we even have right now actually had beekeeping experience ahead of time. They've had farm and ranch some, but no beekeeping. Which can sometimes be helpful because they don't have different ways of doing things, and we can train them from the beginning. And then every year we have to do the re-upping to get them back here. And every year except for this year, have sent one home. We do have that opportunity, whether they were caught with drugs or one of our guys actually. Laurel's a small town. bars started calling us, said we kicked him out. He's causing trouble in town. So they have a set of standards they have to follow when they're here. No excessive drinking, no breaking the law. If any of these things happen, they are sent home immediately, not even by just us, but by the government. We try to get local people to come work for us. They don't want to do the job. Part of our job is just the extracting season, so nobody wants a job that's only from July through September. And one of the first words we ask them is, why do you, or do we do drug tests? Can you pass a drug test? And if they say no, they're not hired. We've had people come work for us that have been here like half a day and say, this work's too hard. And it's hard, it's a lot of lifting. So it ended up, we had to go find people that were willing to do the job. They have families at home. They want to send this money home, so they know they have to work hard. They have to do what we ask so that they can continue to work here in America.
That is quite the process, it sounds like, that you guys have to go through, and I empathize with the fact that you're trying to source some local labor and maybe not seeing what you would like out of the area. And it's true, farm and ranch work, beekeeping work, it's all pretty tough. So definitely can weed some people out, I'm sure. So that's good. I'm glad that you have found a solution for that, for sure, through the H-2A program. But I know that it's got some of its faults that are hopefully going to be worked on here. And then I am curious for David and Terrance, if you guys want to talk about how this opportunity came to be on your guys' end, and then also the specifics of the process as far as all the application work and all of that you mentioned earlier.
Yes. The program in South Africa was very low-key, under the radar. And the past few years, people started talking more about it. And me personally heard about it around about 4 years ago and started investigating it. And from my side, I actually had to apply to quite a few agents that is associated with the American side, and they are registered, I believe. I don't know exactly how that works, but I actually registered with a few of them. So that was quite a daunting task, getting emails through and doing the same thing over and over and over and hoping for an answer. So then we have the visa process, which is also quite a situation, and how you get through the visa process, doing the right things, come to America on the right foot and through the right processes. And like Jodie said, is following the rules is always in your favor. So yes, it is on our side, from the South African side, it is quite a daunting process, making sure that all the checks and balances are met on that side before you set your foot on a plane. So I think the first year it was more than 6 months before I actually got the flight ticket and coming over. So yeah, from our side, it's quite a job.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about what it looks like annually? Because I'm sure it changes a little bit every year.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it was a little bit easier. Now it's starting to get more involved and more in depth, looking at each employee coming into America. And I think that's a good thing. You want to know who's coming. You want to know his background. And you want to know that he is skilled, and you know that he's going to come do for Andy and every other agricultural position, that he is here to do that job. And I think it's a good thing, not only for us as workers, but also for the American farmers. Sorting the right people is obviously a very good idea, and streamlining those processes. So it's gotten more and more of a headache getting here, and it's good, but it's not good for the American farmer that needs that help desperately and urgently.
Yeah, for sure. You want to speak? I'm curious, Terrance, maybe you can answer this question. How, when you do go to apply, you end up in beekeeping specifically versus maybe if you had farm or ranch work previously, how they line that up?
I think it works according to your resume that you send in when you contact the agency. If you were working on a farm, say on a farm laborer side, and you're going to apply, then they'll basically see that you've been in farm working. So they'll try and push you to the side where you're going to go work on a farm with vegetables or with cattle or wherever your field is. Unfortunately, I did work on a farm in South Africa, but I heard from Jodie and them through a friend, David, and I didn't have to go through the same process as he did and go through the agencies. I already had the agency's contact number and I just had to send my CV to them. So that helped me a lot. It wasn't as hectic as other people that I've spoken to that had to go through a bunch of agencies to get in. And I think that helped me. So other guys that I've spoken to, friends of mine that also came from South Africa that work on farms, they literally had to go through 6-8 agencies until they eventually got into a place where they're busy working now, but in the same field as where they were working when they were in South Africa.
We'll ask Jodie now. I know that there are lots of new and exciting updates with this bill that was proposed by Chairman Thompson. And one of those is just the length of time that some of these H-2A workers are able to stick around. And there's a little bit more flexibility with that. So I'm curious how you see that affecting your operation and some of the benefits that you see coming from that.
So currently, our guys can only be here up to 10 months. And we have different numbers for each time we have a set of guys coming. This new bill is hopefully where it's going to be easier for us to stagger people coming at different times, and they're actually going to be able to stay for like 350 days. So we have a time period right now, the way we're set up, that from November, December till part of January, we have none of our extra help. That's our main time for working on equipment and getting stuff ready to go to California. So the poor guys that are still here, because we till this year have had 3 guys still here in Montana working, domestic workers. And so they have so much more work to do, trying to get it ready. So if we could stagger this a little bit, get the guys here a little sooner. Also, with our guys gone January through April, if we could stagger that a little better, then maybe I could have some people stay here to help me while I'm here, because everybody else goes to California. So I'm here alone. Plus we raise meat goats. So we're in the middle of kidding as soon as the guys leave so they could come and actually be here for some of that, to help with some of that. And when I travel for Farm Bureau and different events, and I could actually have people here could take care of the business for a couple days while I'm gone.
That's a wonderful advantage for you guys to have. And then I'm also curious what difference that would make for the workers. So if you guys have any input on that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think planning is obviously one of the biggest things in any farmer or worker's life cycle. If you don't know when and where you go and when you're coming back, and the farmer doesn't really know when his help is coming, that can be a major burden in his planning for the years coming. So having a sort of a better idea about and a regular intervals of coming back and when I'm coming back and a fixed timetable on that would help me and the business, I believe, tremendously going forward, where I have to be here this time and I have to leave that time. And normally it's round about from February to October. At the moment, I have to be out of the country by end of October. If I can understand how to plan that a little bit better and contract-wise, it will mean a lot to me and to the employees of here.
And then you guys all mentioned kind of the arduous process that it is to get over here, and some people, like Terrance mentioned, might have a connection that makes it a little bit easier, but if someone's starting from scratch, that can be quite a burden to try to make it over to America. And the streamlining of this process is another thing that's promised in this bill. And we know some of these things can take a lot of time, so trying to kind of manage expectations there a little bit. But what do you think, Jodie, would be some of the great benefits that you would receive from a streamlining of that process?
We have lots of hoops to jump through as employers getting H-2A workers. And you have to talk to one, say like Homeland Security, and they have to give you a number to clearance. And then you have to wait for another one, for another like Department of Labor, and then another department. So if they can streamline this, we have to go like almost 4 months in advance trying to get these guys over here. So if they can streamline it, also with their streamlining, it'll give us more room for flexibility of going staggering when our guys come, which would be helpful because we don't need everybody in California, but we need quite a few. We need them when we get back in April and we're doing our business. And then just sometimes, like this year, we did have a little disaster with our bees, but we were able to try to keep the guys working as much as we could. But if it would have been where we could not have, this streamlining program is also going to help it where we could say, hey, I got David. Does somebody need him for 3 months? He can come work for you for 3 months and then come back to us. And that's part in that streamlining thing that's going to happen.
That last portion that you mentioned is something that I think would be super helpful for people everywhere, and even just the occasional seasonality of things. Like you mentioned, you might not have as much work at one time, whether it be due to some unforeseen disastrous circumstances or just because of the nature of the work. So I think that would be a great advantage for our producers to have. And then I'm sure on the workers' end of the situation, limiting a little bit of the paperwork, maybe consolidating some of those agencies, things like that would make a huge difference. So if you guys would like to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, anything to help the process, and I think everything taken away from time, again, comes down to the same thing. The producers at the end of the day suffer on that. So getting people on board that know what they're doing, know what they're looking for, who's the right person to come over, and streamlining that process, that would be beneficial for all parties around.
Yeah, I think if the process goes much faster and the paperwork goes through faster, then you can get the guys over quicker. And then the backlog on the paperwork won't keep the guys like this year that they only came back. Some of the guys took 3 months before they could go over since they applied for their visas. So I think if it streamlines it like that, it's going to make it easier for the guys. It's going to go, the process will go much quicker. And I think the backlog will be a lot less than what it is currently.
Yeah, and I think realistically all of that will benefit the producer, the worker, and then just our agriculture economy in the U.S., just the amount that we're able to produce, the amount that we're able to sell, and just having labor is a huge aspect of that, and that's one of our crises, I guess you could say, in America right now. I know that a lot of people are struggling and maybe are employing people who aren't here legally, and I know that this bill kind of has a pathway that lines out some opportunities for them to become legal workers. So that would be great as well. And a lot of our agricultural workforce, especially regionally, and like you guys mentioned earlier, people don't really realize how much in Montana we do rely on, especially South African workforce, but people from other countries as well. But our food supply really domestically is very dependent on foreign labor. So we appreciate everything that you guys do for us, for sure. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about how many South African people are here and how many you run into? Just because I don't think that people quite realize the amount that are here in Montana.
So yes, here in Montana, in the house that we are staying, we are 6. So 6 friends that's straight around us. And I have a little group that I'm part of, sort of a support group. If you miss your family too much, we can say hi to everyone else around here. So in Montana, there's around about 60 on this group specifically. So I know there's a lot of us around. So it's good to know that some of your countrymen is around you.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about your barbecues too? I don't remember.
Yeah, like Americans, South Africans like a barbecue. We just don't call it a barbecue. We call it a braai, and braai is one of the most amazing things that we can introduce to the American culture. I think you can do something a little bit more about that. And with a braai is normally a braai broodjie. That is a toasted sandwich that we feel very important, and it's very important that you make it the right way. So yeah, when we have a braai, we normally invite everyone around, and all the men and girls and everyone stand around a fire, and we share a meal and just be happy and good together. So yeah, I think braai is something that American definitely can look into.
For sure. I think that's cool that you guys are able to have that sense of community here overseas too while you're away from home. And yeah, I think it just does go to show that there are quite a few of you guys here, and our food supply, a lot of our economy does rely on you guys. And I think maybe you get a bad rap about sending some money back overseas, but realistically, I think they contribute a lot more than they maybe take elsewhere. Do you want to touch on that a little bit, you guys? Do you have any thoughts?
So, you know, when we are here, we do spend money in America. When we buy stuff and food and clothing, we do go out and look at the sites and spend money around. We do send some money back home, but we do help the American economy a little bit in that regard. And we do pay taxes, and I think that is a very important aspect that we are not just sending money back home. We are paying taxes, and we are legally here and helping.
Yeah, I think that's another misconception that people might have or not be aware of. So it's important to spread that knowledge and just make sure that everybody's kind of in the know on that. Jodie, I don't know if you've seen any other misconceptions about this program. Do you want to talk about that, Andy? Go for it.
Well, a lot of them think that we're bringing these foreign workers in cheap, and it is not cheap to bring them in. We have to provide them with housing, which we pay the electricity, the water, all for that housing. We have to provide them with transportation to and from work, to and from to get groceries, supplies, to and from church. And for us, we just got some older vehicles, and they drive them back and forth to the house and where they want to go and whatnot. And then through Department of Labor, they set a minimum wage for us that we have to pay all employees, not just our H-2A workers. So, and they actually did lower that this year. But in the past, if we hire like a high school student to come in and work, our minimum wage was like $17 an hour just for somebody that has no skills. So it is not cheaper to bring in H-2A workers than domestics. Just you can't. Oh, plus you pay their travel back and forth from their country, their visa expenses and all that. We as employers have to pay for.
That's some great insight. I think it's important to share these different stories and kind of how you guys contribute to our agriculture industry here in Montana and just in America in general. And we really are reliant on you for a lot of different things. And like Andy mentioned with the dairy industry earlier, that's a 365 days a year job, and it's not seasonal. So hopefully some of these different changes in this labor bill, we can see some big differences being made on behalf of agriculture and our food supply in general. I'm curious, Andy, you seem to know why Montana is specifically so concentrated with South Africans versus some other countries.
And the main reason I went with South Africans, and I'm guessing most Montanans do, is I speak English, and the South Africans speak English. So there isn't a difference in language and translation. So that's a lot of it is Montana primarily speaks English. They speak English.
That probably provides a lot easier opportunities to kind of assimilate into the community for sure. And I know that's probably different regionally across the United States. You know, like if you're hiring on a dairy in Southern California, chances are a lot of those people speak Spanish too, yes. And the employers do. So that language barrier isn't quite
even in the beekeeping community where there are more Mexicans they bring in Mexicans, Nicaraguans that speak Spanish, but their whole workforce virtually bilingual there, can speak both. Montana, we aren't very bilingual yet.
Yet, he says. Maybe you guys can teach us some Afrikaans.
Oh, jeez, that's going to be difficult.
Teach us a phrase.
No, I think the culture is very in line to add to Andy said. Our culture is very in line with the Montana culture, and we fit together very well. And a good South African phrase.
How many official languages are there in South Africa?
So South Africa is called the Rainbow Nation, and we have 11 official languages.
Wow.
And each South African has to have at least 2 languages, and mine is Afrikaans and English. And then you have Xhosa and Zulu and, all different types, Venda. It's 11, and I don't even know all 11 at the end of the day. But most of our schooling do require us to have at least 2 languages. My son at the moment is having another 3rd language, which is German. So it is... We talk both languages very deliciously. So Afrikaans phrase, help me here, Terrance. When you put on a spot like that.
What about some of the terms?
Say good morning today.
Goeiemôre.
Goeiemôre mense, ek hoop julle het 'n pragtige dag. And that translates to good morning people. I hope you have a wonderful, pretty day.
Awesome. Sweet. I think that's a pretty positive note to end this podcast on. How about you guys?
Sounds good.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for being with me today.